Caddy.
Yo,
What's up, bro? How you been?
pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Man,
It's,
I've been good, man. It is fuck. I think the last time I saw you was when we battled together in Detroit that one time.
yep, I was
Like,
actually watching that the other day too. That's what's crazy about it.
bro,
Me
I
and
love those
Shadow
battles.
was
That,
sitting up.
that was so much fun. I had a great time at that jam.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they got some very interesting little cipher events coming up here. I thought that was pretty cool to hear about.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, I haven't been out to Michigan in a minute, not since before the pandemic started. But I'm definitely gonna have to pay a visit soon, especially because Preach moved back, and I really miss the crew, man. I really miss the crew. Um,
Bro, I'm back too. We miss you, man. We miss
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Time
But
for that
and then
family
you know,
reunion.
also once the pandemic's over, y'all got to come out to Denver. Got a spot for y'all to stay at.
Colorado. Ooh, in the
Yeah,
open
man, it's,
smoke
it's fun
state.
out here. You can
Ooh,
you probably set up a gig
recreational
out
town.
here or something. You know, all that
Yeah.
good stuff. Hey, what you drinking, by the way?
Some tequila, and I had to use some grenadine. I usually use lime cordial, but
Mm,
tequila grenadine. It's all
gotcha,
right.
gotcha.
It's
That's
all
what's
right.
up. Yeah, it's just some benchmark, just straight good old whiskey for me.
Lucky you. I got to get me a bottle tomorrow. I'm like,
Mm.
man,
Yeah, actually, I was gonna have to pick up something for this meeting, so I'm like, I want to be sipping whiskey while I'm doing the interview, and
you
then I
know,
found just like enough left for this. I'm like, all right, cool, we're good for tonight.
we like drink champs right now. You know.
Yeah, for real, for real. I was listening to your music earlier today. Listening to that mixtape again, preparing for the interview, and I heard a couple lyrics where you mentioned depression. Um, so that's something I also struggle with. Is that something you'd be comfortable talking about in the interview or
Oh,
no?
absolutely,
Okay, cool,
absolutely,
cool.
man.
For sure. Because yeah, I mean, for me personally, I feel like men talking about mental health and especially shit like depression and actually processing fucking emotions instead of bottling that shit up and letting it, come out in unhealthy ways like a lot of dudes do is kind of part
Yeah,
of, what I'm trying to do with
can't
the channel.
you can't just let it boom. You know what I mean? Like,
Nah, it's a lot about kind of just knowing yourself.
oh yeah, oh
For
yeah.
sure. So yeah, I'll probably add in a question about that when we're talking about music and creative process and stuff like that. Um, but cool. So, and just for the record, bro, this is my first interview on the channel. So I'm really,
Word.
yeah, bro,
It's
I'm really glad I get to have you on for the first interview. It's I don't know why, it just feels right.
Oh man, it's an honor, bro. I definitely appreciate that.
All right, bro. So yeah, first question. I knew you through breaking and through the dance community, but how'd you get started rapping? How long you been doing this?
Mm, that is a very good question. I started rapping when I was 10 years old. Actually, that's a funny story. I was 10 years old when I started rapping, and I got my name from watching The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. So when I was a
Mm.
kid, I used to go by Pat the Baker.
Hell yeah.
so
Um,
I mean, like originally it was just for fun because I wanted to like just play around with it and just see what I could do. Because my father, was very deep into music. We've been around him. We've been around Royce, Big Herc, and a lot of like different street legends. You know what I mean? And for me, it just started off more poetic because like I could put words together. I could rhyme, but originally I couldn't get the cadence to go to a beat. So like I want to say when I turned about 15, 16, I started to take it serious because before I would just dabble, I was young. And then when I turned 15, 16, I was able to put words to a beat. I was able to really just dig into my thinking space, and I had a lot of content just from living my life and just seeing the things that I saw that I was able to pull from to kind of like put the music together. But back to the main point, I started when I was about 9 or 10, man. And it's been a long journey, man. It's been a long journey. So that would make it almost 16 or 17 years that I've been rapping.
yeah, doesn't feel like that long, I bet.
I feel like I started yesterday.
Yeah, man. So So I'm wondering for you, so did rapping come first or did dancing come first, or was it just kind of something else that led you to these paths?
You know what? Taking, well, I would say um, the point of dancing that, or the aspect of how we look at it now, that didn't come until later. But before, I think what made me want to start dancing was actually watching the Jabberwockies.
Mm,
Prior to, I would like mess around because black families we dance a lot, but I never thought about popping or breaking or housing. You know what I mean? And then I saw the Jabberwockies and me, Nick, and Malik, who's also GCOS. We
yep,
were all
GCOS.
in middle school. Yep. And right around the time the Jabberwockies were doing anything on TV, we were learning how to do flares, and we would be in class trying to do flares. And I think we all had developed one decent flare around the same time. And after we got that first one, we were like, yeah, man, let's do this. But the rapping definitely came first. The competitive and showmanship from dancing, I say that definitely came after,
Mm,
because it was just a different craft to me altogether. As far as not forming, vocabulary with my mouth, but forming vocabulary with the moves that I'm doing, So that's kind of where it went for me.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that. So it's, if I may say, it kind of sounds like you started with rapping and then you were exploring your creativity, you were exploring your passions, and then you started dancing and you found other things from that that you were able to kind of bring back to rapping, kind of self-sustain, sustaining your creativity throughout these multiple art forms. Is that accurate or
Oh,
not?
that's accurate. That's accurate.
For
Rapping
sure.
was definitely the bridge piece because I remember before I would tell Soul, I was like, man, I wish I could dance the way that I could rap. And he says, do it. But instead of using words, think of your body as the vocabulary in your movements. And that's what really just made me grow along the journey. Like when we done our battles and stuff together, and just the competitive aspect, um, I've always viewed dancing and rapping in the way of a sport, just because it's competitive. There's people who do view it differently, but for me, that friendly competition is always good. It's something that just pushes you to go farther, and without it, it kind of gets boring. It gets stagnant, And that's the overall aspect of music and the dancing and the rapping. Gets boring without having something to compare yourself to, I guess I could say.
Yeah, for sure. I feel you on that. It's kind of it's interesting you're speaking to the debate on whether break-in is an art or a sport because we're seeing this conversation coming up a lot with break-in in the 2024 Olympics. Because I mean, if it's in the Olympics, it is officially a sport, but I mean, it's also dance, so it's officially an art. So it's an interesting line that we kind of walk being part of this community, and
Yeah.
everyone's definitely kind of got their own opinions on it. So I appreciate you weighing in with that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, just that competitive aspect, man, is very important. And to some degree, breaking is becoming more and more like a sport. Um, I would point fingers at the music, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody by saying that, but a lot of the breaking tracks, they just don't have that same feel that they used to. Watch a lot of G and talk with them, and a lot of them are like, man, I love when we go out and break and we got Tribe, what I'm saying, got the Tang, what I'm saying, and now
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like we got such and such DJ, and he may have a hot track, or he may have something that's just kind of soulless and it's just following the funky drum pattern. That's what I'm seeing a lot. That's kind of making it commercial to me. It's making it commercial because to me, I don't feel like there's a such thing as break music, because when we look at the history of it, we were dancing to the break in a song. You know what I mean? So like
Mm-hmm.
I can't give it a category of its own, especially if it well, I'll say if that's what they want to do is fine. You know, there's nothing I can do about it. But I just think that a lot of the music has lost touch with the dance, and that's what's making it more sport like. You know, if you go to a basketball game or a football game, if it's getting heated and those songs come on, don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's kind of how it's becoming with some of the music and breaking, um, and popping as well. Like I just think they gotta, you know, if it's a very important aspect to people to say whether it's a sport or whether it's a dance or whether it's the culture, I think that those two aspects have to be taken into consideration and blended properly. We need some soul music, you know, and we can have our power moves and all of that, but it takes away from the feel, you know, when you don't have that sound behind you, empowering you. Like, for example, if we went to a battle and in my round they play James Brown, maybe I get Super Bad or something like that. It's just so much soul to it, right? Yeah. And then the next guy gets like Organ Donor or something.
Bro, it's funny you mentioned the track Organ Donor. I forget if it was that or I think it was another song that was like in a Red Bull BC1 video at the time and was popularized. I remember there was this jam I threw and it was like the only one where I had an exhibition battle. And, you know, I worked with some really dope DJs. The one on this one just kind of had the wrong idea for this exhibition battle. And he played a song that was like in one of these Red Bull BC1 tracks. I don't think it was Organ Donor. I think it was something that doesn't work quite as well for breaking. But yeah, I remember afterwards, both people who were in the exhibition were like, yo, what the fuck was that DJ doing? And I was like, man, I paid y'all like $200 to battle, and that's what you got to say. But you know, this is kind of what happens with organizing jams. It's kind of like, and it's probably, you know, this doesn't exactly segue. We're kind of getting off topic, but whatever. You know, it's kind of seeing, you'd see this a lot as an artist, I'm sure, where people who are creatives now have to be professionals. Mm-hmm. And not everyone has that same level of professionalism. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, man, one thing I noticed, you know, overseas is, you know, I'd go to a lot of hip hop a lot of the big battles like OBS or Battle ISM, right? And they would have different categories. Of course, you have your breaking maybe, or you have your group popping, single popping, housing, and hip hop, right? House music, fantastic. The hip hop music for the battles, fantastic. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, they need to play more stuff like this for breaking battles or for popping battles. And then you go to the popping battle and they had a few decent tracks. They had some Ice Cube. They had some Shashu up in there. That was nice. And then for breaking, like, I was just like, turn it off. Just turn it off. Like, let me clap or something, man. Yeah.
Yeah, for real. I heard someone online, you know, in the breaking community making the argument that the further we get away from playing hip hop at our breaking jams, we kind of get further away from the culture that established it. Especially, this person was also bringing the point that, you know, hip hop is a Black art form, and you know, breaking being part of that, hip hop should be played more at jams.
Yeah, because we get a lot of Latin music, and it sounds great, and it's good for breaking. You know, get a lot of Latin music. But as we go, like you said, further and further into making breaking something that can be commercially recognized, they're getting farther away from the soul that created the art form. When they look at other things, they say, well, hey, this is part of the hip hop culture. I feel like people are forgetting that. The key word is hip hop. They don't say, what's the 5 elements of breaking? What's the 5 elements of popping? What's the 5 elements of hip hop? You know what I mean? And that music is a very, very, very important aspect. It's why a lot of dancers, they may have dope power moves, they may be clean, but they just cannot develop the rhythm because they're not processing things to music with the proper hip hop groove, with the proper feel. The feel develops you as a dancer. And if you just, you know, dancing to Tonka trunk music, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to like, you know, the right stuff, it just kind of, it takes away from you as a dancer. It takes away from the art form. And the biggest thing about breaking is like, we go to a cipher and we feeding off somebody energy. I could be feeding off somebody energy, but if that music is terrible, I'll wait till the next song, and it kind of just,
Yeah, no, for sure. It's one of those things where, like, the DJ makes a bigger difference than a lot of people realize.
Yeah,
Like,
the DJ is very important.
Yeah, like I remember when I used to organize jams, I worked with a bunch of DJs, but there was this one dude who, like if I were going to be throwing a jam again, I would hit up Case Broso, because this dude
I like Case Broso.
Yeah, no. And like, I remember the first jam I went to that he was spinning, he understood the vibe of what was happening and he catered to that. He built on that. Like, he was paying attention to what was going on in the battles, in the ciphers. And, you could see he kind of adjusted to build on what was already being said. And when someone can really do that, man, the vibe just goes crazy.
Yeah, because I like DJs like that, because although it's a battle, you still have to think of it as a party, because to try and push the culture, we have to bring in outsiders who aren't used to it. And then they come in and they hear some Big Daddy Kane or some Chubb Rock. They're like, oh, okay. Or they come in and then they hear Organ Donor and they're like, yeah, what they're doing is cool, but this music is whack. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The DJ is very, very important. Very important.
Yeah. It's an observant DJ. It's
absolutely
somewhat of a rarity these days. But yeah, so segueing a little bit, you brought up travel a little bit. So I know you were living abroad for a while. Can you talk a bit about that, and also how that's related to your music? What was it like pursuing this career abroad versus in the States?
Ooh, what?
Big question.
I guess where I'll start is by saying, by doing it abroad, the level of your talent is insignificant. You get a bonus point, like you get some you get some headroom there, because people take you serious now because you're not doing it locally like everybody else. Most people pay, to set up a tour or to be a part of a showcase, or you're doing shows here. The shows are free. When I started doing shows over there, because somebody caught a whiff of my music, it was actually a popping OG, Hitmaster Fish. And Fish trained me on the popping tip. I'll get more into that later. But for now, I'll say Fish was like, dude, you a dope MC. He was like, man, like, I've heard people rap. He's like, but you're an MC. Like, you got to do something with that. So I did my first gig over there, man. And I think, the pay was decent. Everybody, it was me, a guy from Mongolia, who's, a Mongolian guy, but he's actually from, I want to say DC or something like that. And then a local Taiwanese group, they're called Shadow Project. So that was of importance to me, my first show out there. And it went well, man. The people vibed with the music. I think we all got paid anywhere from 150 to 200 bucks. And we did anywhere from 4 to 5 songs, and that was unheard of to me, because doing it here, I got to pay you to come perform my music. I'm like, what? That's a lot of how it is here, because there's so many artists. And before I would say oversaturated genre, but now I just say so many artists that speak the same language. And people don't get how significant that is, because overseas, there's not many MCs that can rap in English. People understand it. They try to rap in English, but they can't really pull it off, And for me, I was able to do some bilingual rap. And actually, the group Shadow Project that we did that show with, they later on blew up. And I was probably the first and only foreigner to ever feature with them. And we did that feature for the show. And now they are working with Nick DeReal. They did a song with Nick DeReal. I'm not sure if you know Nick DeReal?
I've heard the name. I don't know his stuff that well. I need to just be better about keeping up on new music. But anyway.
He's Taiwan's most famous celebrity. And I want to say I want to say, and I don't want to get this wrong, so don't quote me on this, but I think Nick DeReal was in one of the Fast and Furious movies, or G.I. Joe or something like that. And I just found it funny. They were like, yeah, well, we always thought about rapping, and those dudes were scared to do it. And I'm like, you know, at the time, my Chinese wasn't good enough to pick out everything that they were saying because they were rapping in Chinese, but the flow is a very, very important part of music, man. And these little Taiwanese dudes could flow, man. They were hard. I was like, all right, you know, they got the little pop star look, but they were hard, man. And after I did that show with them, me and my sister started an event out there called Drink Me Crazy. Drink Me Crazy on the side of town that we are. It was the highest paid, biggest party, the best rap show. Like, I mean, like we would take a venue, man, and people would be shoulder to shoulder. Like it was the craziest thing. And they would come there to see me and whoever I picked as my two guest performers to perform. And I headlined every show that I did after that, man.
Yo,
and by that time, I was making anywhere from $400 to $500 a show, man. And and that's, you know, that doesn't sound like a lot of money to some people, but I can name a lot of artists here who haven't made $1. In fact, they've gone negative doing shows, you know.
Bro, that's where I'm at with this writer career now. You know, I'm in this kind of like, I'm loving it, but it's also in a way kind of the painful grind phase, right? Where I'm putting in all this work, all this stuff up front. I'm not getting shit back. You know, I've spent a lot of money on my book and, you know, my YouTube setup and all this shit. Hopefully I will eventually, but you know, it's like you're saying, it's the grind. It's kind of doing these things just to do it. And not putting too much pressure on yourself for the commercial success. But it sounds like you did start getting some commercial success with this. So,
oh man.
Yeah. So keep telling me about it.
I mean, the things that happened over there, man, blessing. Was a blessing indeed. And you know, it just made me grow. It made me grow a lot as a person and an artist, man, because I came out there first just trying to produce because I was going to stop rapping. It always happens. Every time I'm like, man, I'm going to quit rapping. Then I start getting shows and then I start getting paid. And I was like, all right. And man, just to I don't know, to be a part of that is a blessing, man. I have uncles who producers and produce for they produce for celebrities, they're platinum producers, blah blah blah. And some of them were like, dude, you got to do something that I never got to do. I've never done anything out the country. I've done it all here, but I've never done it overseas, you know. And that was one of the accolades that I could just, you know, just give myself a pat on the back for. It changed my whole way that I don't know, view my process of breaking down music, engaging it, going into it. It broke down my whole show process because before that, I was great at rapping the music, but I didn't understand crowd control. And when you headlining your own shows, you have to understand crowd control because people will like your music, but if you're not interacting with people, you'll lose the people who came to see you do your thing, man. Mm-hmm. And I want to say a good 85% of the people were there. And my shows, man, like after the performances, we would always stop performances at 2 a.m. Show would start at 10. We'd be going from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., right? That's your shows. And then the party was so good because I said, I don't want, the biggest thing I learned is this, actually. I said, I don't want to make it a concert. You have a lot of people who come, and I was watching Taiwanese artists and, you know, they're performing 5 to 10 songs, which is cool, but it's like, all right, give us some, like having a cipher in between, give us some music in between. Let us chill, let us vibe out, then let us get ready for the next performer. So my rule was always, when I'm throwing this show, no artist, including myself, can perform more than 3 songs. You know, you perform your song, you stop, interact with the crowd, talk to the crowd, tell them about yourself. Don't make it too long. Ask for a hell yeah, woody whoop, or whatever. Get on to the next song. The song after that in between, get you another hell yeah or something. Yeah, shout out the venue that let us throw the show, and then do the last song, finish it off, because um, I would always finish it off after I did the first one, because I have realized, and people were telling me, well, we like your guest artist, but we're here for you. So it's cool that you want to go in the middle, but you got to close out your show. So that was another important thing, to interact with the people who were there to see me, because maybe they may not come early because they're not going to watch this other guy or the guy before. Do I want them to support them? Absolutely. But if they're coming to see me, they're coming to see me. I can't say anything about it, because at the end of the day, we're all getting paid. I paid my artists, I get paid, and that crowd control was amazing, man. And I would have people tell me when the next one is. I'm coming there. I'm reserving a booth. I'm reserving, etc. And the more money they spent on drinks, man, the more money I made. I would make, and out there it's a lot, because maybe a drink at a bar you're probably spending about $3.20. It is not the same in America anymore. I remember the days, but that's where they at now. So maybe I could get people to come, and I could make a bar $3 or $4 grand, and 10 to 2. So 10 to 2, that's 4 hours. And maybe 6 to 8 hours, I could make a bar $3 to $4 grand. And that was unheard of out there for somebody just throwing a party, because most people would throw the party or the show, man, and they would lose the cipher aspect. People get bored, they leave. And if you give people a chance to party and interact with others as well as you, then they spend more money at the venue, man. Spend more money at the venue. And, you know, it made me feel appreciated too, because over here as an artist, I don't feel like a lot of artists are appreciated, because there's so many of us trying to do the same thing. So us looking out for our friends, even other people, I can't be mad at them here, because we all have some type of internal bias, you know what I mean? Because we want to see our friends succeed. So maybe you are a dope artist, but this guy's my cousin, my brother, or my friend from the 6th grade. So I gotta, you know, go support this guy. Yeah, and out there, they don't do that. If they like you, they'll pay to come see you. And that's when I learned it is true. It's hard to make it at home base, which is here for me, Michigan. It's hard to make it at home base. You have to travel. You have to travel. With breaking, if you want to be BC1 or international, you have to travel, man. And people don't pay attention to that. You never know who you'll meet, what they'll teach you. You know what I mean? And just off sheer strength, man, I got to train with, and I said I'll get into this later, but I got to train with Hitmaster Fish just because I was overseas and we met and we clicked. Had I met him in America, him, a guy from Baltimore, New York, and California, those are the places he's from. When I asked him, that's what he says. So I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, and me, a guy from Detroit, if I met this dude in America, we probably have been like, I don't know, man. You from Detroit? I'm not. You know. We give people the jitters when they meet, you know, Detroit artists. We give people the jitters just sheer off the strength of the name, just like meeting somebody from Chicago. Oh man, I heard you guys' town is dangerous. But if you're a black guy or a foreigner in general, I said black guy because I'm sure there will be some black viewers that need to hear this. Just traveling and removing yourself from your environment where you were once a common thing, you become a delicacy somewhere else. Become a delicacy, you know? And the best way I can explain that is over here, we eat hamburgers and French fries and, you know what I'm saying? Fried chicken and everything every day. Whereas over there, they eat shrimp and etc. every day. And it's cheaper over there. But if we were buying shrimp and crab legs over here, it cost you an arm and a leg. So if you're something common here, go somewhere else to where you could be a delicacy. And that's how people need to just look at the aspect of it, man. And it helps. Like, look at you, you know, even with your thing, you're down there in Colorado, man, and made a big difference for you, you know?
Oh yeah, it's put me on a real interesting path. I guess I'm a writer now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I do know how that happened. I have like a bunch of fucking videos on it, but you know, I mean, at the same time, it's one of those things where life just kind of leads you in these directions. You just kind of doing what feels right at the moment, and then all of a sudden, like you're, you know, performing in Taiwan, or you wrote, or in my case, you wrote a book about hip hop 1,000 years in the future or some shit. You know,
Right.
like it's
I
pretty
like that
interesting.
concept, by the way.
Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, it's hopefully I'm looking at an August 11th release date because August 11th is the anniversary of when hip hop was born, 1973. Um,
Mhm.
and you know it's about hip hop, so I thought maybe do that. But you know we'll see what happens. It's a little ways out there. Um, but yeah, man. After this, I'll tell you a little bit about that next book that I talked to you about on Facebook a while back.
Yeah.
I've started writing it. The main character is named Q. All right, and he's a rapper from Detroit. He's not exactly
Wow.
you because I'm trying to let the character kind of breathe and be their own character. But yeah,
Mhm.
he's a rapper named Q from Detroit, senior in high school, and gets his hands on some haunted beats. So
That's dope.
we'll see where that shit goes. But anyways, man, to get back to the interview questions, because my channel has a lot of stuff about me. Let's make this more about you. So we talked a bit about how dancing and rapping are related to when it comes to your own creative process. It was
Mhm.
really interesting to hear you talk about. Now, just before I move on, would you say that dancing helped inspire like how you developed your performance style as a rapper, or was that really
Absolutely.
its own thing?
Absolutely. It did, man. Dance absolutely inspired it. I'll tell you why though. And it's actually a funny story, man, because the crowd control from rapping, the crowd control from dancing, and to get a little bit more in depth, I would go to battles and I would do dope stuff. But the reason why a lot of people get ooh, ah, oh, is because they understand crowd control, you know. And so at this last battle I did, which was Kenya's birthday jam or whatever, it's the standing ovation B-Day battle or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
People got a chance to see me playing around with crowd control and just, you know, relaxing. So like dancing had a big aspect to do with it because I started street performing in Taiwan.
Mm.
Um, you know, and I was training with Hitmaster, man, and I couldn't pop at the time. Hitmaster was still teaching me, and he's like, "Nah, you can't pop with me street performing until you're ready. So do some breaking, you know." And I would do little flares and top rock or whatever, and flares I get a reaction, a head backflip or you know, elbow track or something. I get a reaction. Turtles reaction. You know, you do that footwork though. Crowd was like, "Okay, that's pretty cool," but and I hear them talking in Chinese when I'm doing flares. Okay, so they say, "Oh, 那边的黑人他是机器人，然后黄色的黑人他是很厉害的人." So like what that is they say, "Oh, the one black guy," because that's kind of how blatantly they say it in in Chinese. So I find it funny still. It's like, oh, okay, so the darker black guy right here, he's doing roboting and he's funny, and the yellow black guy right here, he's doing power moves or whatever. Okay, this is pretty cool to watch. And I would just see how Hitmaster would interact with the crowd. Sometimes he would have somebody come up and like, "Yo, you do this, do that, and just do what I do." You know, no words required. He'd just say, "You come here," and then they come out and make them do something silly, man. And the way they would react and just love it, they die and they laughing in tears, and they just come out and money, 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 money. And I was like, wow, you know. And it wasn't really from the aspect of taking something serious. It was the aspect of being good at what you do, but being able to entertain people. Sometimes entertaining people is making them smile. Sometimes entertaining people is making them laugh. You know what I mean? And from street performing, I trained with Hitmaster for almost a year. It was a good 9 months. Then we went to Philippines, went our separate ways. But he would train me 6 hours a day popping robotics, you know, and then on a crate. And then eventually I was able to go out. I got my costume. We street performed together. We were making anywhere between $300 to $500 a day if we went out, you know, and it was good. And when I first started, he's like, yeah, you're doing too much. You know, you're trying too serious, like you're battling somebody. And that's what I had to figure out. Everything isn't always battling somebody. You wouldn't battle a little kid if they being bad, right? You would tickle a little kid and make him laugh. A little kid will probably listen to you because he sees you as a playful side. And so I go mess with the girls or whatever, go mess with the kids while I'm doing robotics, go mess with the old people, sometimes rub somebody on the head, rub on their belly or whatever, and they laugh and they pay money. And then out of rubbing on their belly and smiling or something, maybe I pull a wave out or etc. You know what I'm saying? And do something with the wave, go back to my crate, I stop. And so just studying those interactions and understanding how I can look at somebody and say, hey, you know, I'm in robot position. Somebody comes back and I look at them and I say, you know, they come over, bam. And they're like, you dance. I'm like, put some money in the bucket. And depending on how much money that person would put on the bucket determine how good of a show they would get. And occasionally you get a person who come up and they just been watching your show all day. Man, you $60. They throw $60. Say, I just want to see y'all dance. And I'm like, wow. So maybe we get that person a good 6 to 10 minutes, you know, and then after talk with them a little bit, then get back to our show. But I say that to say I was able to incorporate stuff like that into my music, you know, because before I would just get on the stage, like, all right, this is your first song. And then I just stand there like this. No leg moving, nothing. I'm just standing still.
Yeah.
I was like, second song. Oh, yeah, the lyrics were dope, but it was kind of boring watching you. And then after I would go perform, maybe I take my shirt off, you know, after I learned street performing. Maybe I make some noise, you know, maybe I let a fan say a word or shake somebody's hand, do a wave or something while I'm rapping a verse, man. And people like, oh, and I was like, crowd control is just about keeping the people entertained. And that is, I'll say that is what one of the biggest aspects that dance actually gave me to incorporate into rapping. Yeah,
man, that's really interesting to hear you talked about, because like, you know, just a couple things that I've seen, you know, on my end that kind of validates what you're saying is the idea of humor as presentation in dance. Like, one of my favorite moments in like a battle that I've been in was I was battling with Tony in Indiana, and like I did a good set. His set, like, it was dope, but then he mouthed the lyrics to the song while on the floor, and everyone fucking lost it. Like, they were feeling it until then, but when he sang along to the lyrics while like in the middle of footwork, people lost their fucking minds. And you know, and like we see a similar thing. This is, I don't remember which year, but in Nagin in the Red Bull BC one of these years, in the middle of a freeze, made a bunch of funny faces at the camera. And that shit was so sick because it's that presentation, it's that engagement, just like what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then like one last one's just going from my favorite hip hop show I've ever been to, Method Man. Method Man can fucking perform. Oh my God. I mean, it's kind of like what you're saying, engaging the audience. There's just Method Man's style of engaging the audience and being really conscious about how this is being presented. So yeah, it's really cool to hear you talk about that and kind of hear this perspective on how dance has been involved. So if there's nothing else, I want us to move on a little bit to, so we're kind of moving into the second half of this.
Okay.
But would you say that activism is part of your platform, and why or why not?
You know what? If I'm to be completely honest here, though, I wouldn't. To some people, it could be like, and I'm saying that from a third person. Like, if I was viewing myself from the outside in, to some people, it could be. They could feel that activism is what I do, but I wouldn't call it activism. What I would more or less call it is just doing the right thing. You know, if I see somebody using a racial term they shouldn't be using, I correct them. Like, dude, it's definitely not okay that you're saying that. Maybe you could not even replace it with something else. Just remove it from your vocabulary and try and come up with a different way to say what you're saying.
Mhm.
And so
I
like
got a
for
video I'm
me,
working on that topic, by the way.
nice, nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, it's okay. And so I could see, you know, where they could say that, but to me, it's always just been doing the right thing, you know, because there was a time when there were issues happening with Black people, and I was just so like I was so absent-minded. I never paid attention to it, and you know, you have so many people from the outside looking in, trying to uh, you know, make you view things from their perspective, but they don't even live from your perspective. So how can you view it the way that I view it? You know,
Yeah.
a white guy can never be um, a white guy can never be a black guy. A
Yeah.
black guy can never be a Chinese guy. A Chinese guy can never be a Mexican guy. You know, we are we're the race that we are. You know what I'm saying? And we're the color that we are. Um, and I don't say that to, you know, as in a form of division, because some people will say, "Oh, well, he's divided." No, I'm not. Because they'll be like, "Oh, it's only one race, and we're the human race." No, it's not, man. If that was true, you wouldn't have your Del Taco, you wouldn't have your Taco Bell. There would be no Italian restaurants. There would be no Chinese food. Everything would just be food, and all clothes would just be clothes. There wouldn't be no kung fu and boxing. Everything would be combative arts. You know what I mean? So you can't come back and say there's only one race. It's the human race. Yes, there's different races. Should we be in unison with each other? Absolutely, absolutely. Should we be divided? No. Should we be on good terms with each other? Absolutely. But are there moments that come in history where sometimes and I could say this is where maybe the activism view comes in, where things are happening and people are part of something and trying to ignore something that they feel doesn't coincide with it. Like Black Lives Matter was going on, and then there was a lot of breakers. I won't say anybody's name, but just with negative comments about Black people this, Black people that, Black people this. And I'm like, well, damn, dude, you sure are breaking, you know, doing our culture. Black rappers, Black people this, Black people that. Well, damn, dude, you sure are rapping, enjoying our culture, you know? So if you're enjoying the culture, the activism to me occurs when an outsider has to come and help you deal with a social injustice or a quarrel that has something to do with your livelihood, your lifestyle. You know what I mean? And so if like right now, there's a thing that's it's the Black and Asian Alliance, right? So for me, that's activism because I'm standing up for the Asian community because I believe that Blacks and Asians should not be divided. We should be together, but there's so much media and, you know, nonsense in the news that just makes you think division, division, division. To me, it's more of we need inclusion, inclusion, inclusion. We need to get my group of people and that group of people and this group of people, and we need to include ourselves in something to get ourselves together. You know what I mean? And that's where the activism comes. But if it's ever something that's just a Black issue, or maybe somebody's a minority and I see them being treated wrong, sometimes it's just, to me, it's just my lifestyle, you know, growing older, becoming more mature, and realizing that some things are not okay. Like even for myself, there was times in the past when maybe I would go to a party, man, and, you know, I didn't know no better. Now, everybody be cool, but you had that one guy rapping along with the songs. He's maybe white or Asian or Hispanic, and he's saying the N-word. And I used to be like, oh yeah, that's so cool. But then as I got older, I'm like, that's disrespectful, man. I was like, that's not cool. And I was like, if I was smarter when I was younger, I should have been correcting people on this, because I can't go to, you know, town with Hispanics and call them by their derogatory term. I can't go to Chinatown and call the Asians by their derogatory term. So why am I feeling like it's okay for my friends of different colors to come to my party and use my derogatory term just in general and think it's okay? And like I said, to me, that's not activism. What I would call it is gatekeeping, because somebody has to be there to gatekeep and monitor what's going on. In Black culture for a long time, the door's just been open and everybody been able to stroll along in and out. Nobody's gatekeeping saying, well, hey, man, I don't think we should allow this guy to be a breaker and come to the jams because he's got a record of being a pedophile. He's got a record of abusing women. He's got a record of calling somebody who's not his ethnicity out of calling them by their derogatory term. You know, there hasn't been enough gatekeeping, and people have to do that, because that's when vultures come, take culture, and then everything gets flipped upside down, and then it's just no more, you know? So like, I guess that overall is just my biggest standpoint with it. I should have said this in advance, but I apologize for my grammar. I've been speaking Chinese for 3 years and would only speak English with my family and friends when I call them. So like, I think it's getting better since I've, you know, been back doing my thing, but like sometimes I have to just kind of, you know, think about the word.
Well, to be fair, on my end, it sounded like you never left, and I think way too much about words and grammar because I'm a writer, so this shit just like stays in my head. But yeah, no, you sound like you just never left. If you ask me.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, man, it's really interesting to hear you kind of talk about all these things, especially like the discussions around hip hop culture, because, you know, normally I only see the term gatekeeping used in a more negative way, but I really feel what you're saying about gatekeeping in a more positive way. I think this is, or in almost a more protective way of looking out for the culture and specifically the culture that came from. I think that's become a really big part of Jade's activism, which, I mean, has heavily inspired me because he's also my sensitivity reader for my books. So he's kind of helped keep me in check with some of this shit. And also kind of inspired me moving in this direction with the channel, with some of these other videos that, you know, I'm not going to talk about now, but where I talk about, you know, activism and being, in my case, like, yo, I'm a white person, definitely very fucking white, writing about a Black art form 1,000 years in the future. Like, that's a weird kind of space to occupy. And one of the things that he talked to me about that was, if I'm going to be occupying that space, if I'm going to be a white person partaking in a Black art form on this level, my activism needs to be louder than my promotion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the idea that, like, you know, with respect to the culture and the culture that hip hop came from, gatekeeping is kind of necessary sometimes. We need people to be thinking about, how are we representing ourselves? How are we taking care of ourselves as a community? So it's really interesting to hear you weigh in on that.
You know, because you know, there's more or less different levels to it, man. Like, you know, there's some people who want to be you know, a part of the dance or hip hop community in general, and you know, we have whackers and vulgars, right? So I use this as, there's a lot of hateful people. Maybe this guy's on the internet posting, oh, I hate trans, I don't like bis, I don't like lesbians, I don't like this or whatever, you know what I mean? But you always come and watch All Styles, and you're around these people who are whacking and voguing or whatever, and you're spreading your negative energy around, man. And like, if you're not okay with something, I could understand that if you left it at home, but it also depends on how deep they've dived into the rabbit hole, because once you've gone so deep into the loophole, you can't, some people can't be pulled out. And that's why gatekeeping is necessary, because and again, I'll go back to like pedophilia. You know, there's a lot of role models in hip hop, and some of these same guys, great dancers, whatever, but you know what I'm saying? You've committed acts of pedophilia, my dude. Like, you should be out. You know, like when they see him at a jam or mention his name, he's done. Like, he's canceled, because this is something that no matter what level we put breaking on, unless breaking was just something like it was in the past, just in the clubs all the time, you know, there were no children around, then I can't be as defensive. But as something where we go and there's children, and it don't even matter the age. If you are under 18, you are a child. whether this is a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, this is a child, man. And there's so many people that have sick views and they'll view these children in a sexual way. This is somebody that should not be in our community. There's people who commit acts of sexual assault. Some people who we've known in the past. Again, not trying to say any names because I don't want to misquote, for one, and for two, they know who they are. You know, they know who they are, man, and people know who they are. So I mean, it's really nothing left for me to say at that point. But you know, look at how many cases of sexual assault, you know what I mean, are just coming up, and people popping this person with Spanish fly. Oh, we have the jam here, and then we go to the club afterwards, and you know, they just got this whole agenda, and somebody's saying no, and this person is just trying to force their way on. But you could see things like that in this person and that person's mentality, because just look at them as a dancer too. Like, dancing speaks about who you are as a person. Some people just try so hard to force their way onto the scene, to just make it their way or the highway. The scene needs to accept me. This is who I am. This is what it's going to be. You can't tell me no. I absolutely can tell you no. I could see it if it was an act of confidence, but this is an act of, how can I say it? Like you trying to just overpower something and shut something down, man. And like, just people with that mindset shouldn't be allowed. People who are delusional, people who are unwilling to actually apologize for something that they've done wrong. This is why gatekeeping is necessary. If I recall, I still see Crazy Legs on the board for the Olympics or whatever. Get him out of there. Get him out of there. I don't care who he is, what shoes he made, what head spins he did. Sorry, buddy. Like, I appreciate you for what you started, but now we're going to take it off your hands because you're diluting it. The more we let your crooked hands touch it, the more you're diluting this ball of pure energy. You're turning it into a mass of darkness. Bye-bye. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's got to go. And that's why gatekeeping is necessary. I get people wanting to be in the Olympics to make money, but they need to say, well, hey, if y'all not going to get him up out of here, we ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? We're not doing it. This is, it's more important to me to protect it as an art form as opposed to making a couple dollars off of it.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I think that's something we see in breaking that we don't see in a lot of other communities. Is it's so small. There's been so little commercial success to dilute it that the community maintains a lot of integrity. You know, not always. I mean, you know, we've been talking about some examples where it does not keep that integrity, but like, you know, for the most part, unlike a lot of art forms, the OGs are still around. You know, you can go like, you know, watch an interview with Ken Swift, the person who invented like most of a lot of what we know as modern footwork. The dude's still around. He's in his 50s, I think. Like, you know, we have access to the originators of our culture, or of our art in a way that a lot of other arts don't. And I think that provides a kind of an interesting dynamic to it, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very important to have, man, because, you know, it's like, if I was making a quote for, how you say, like, not like a documentary, but like a bibliography or something, or if I was pulling a quote, I have to pull from the source material, man. And like, this will kind of divert the topic a little bit, but even with dance, your foundation is you pulling from the source material. You should not be able to invent anything else until you pull from the source material and you learn what it is, which is your foundation. And with a lot of things, people don't do that. You know, you're right. These OGs are available to you. Is every OG right for everyone to learn from? No, but one OG that may not be good for me to learn from may be good for you to learn from. It may spark some creativity. It may teach you something, you know what I'm saying, that you need to take hold of. And just seeing, like, you know, a lot of times when I would sit down with OGs and just being overseas, man, we would do training, but we would do talking, you know. they would be able to pull source material for my mind to say, well, hey, this is how the dance is. Nowadays, this is how it was when we were doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's more friendly, it's more fun, but the source material was when we were about to get down, or I received a call out, or such and such happened. If somebody did something, it needed to be responded to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a big aspect that a lot of people don't understand. I'll get more into that later because I don't want to get off topic, but definitely pulling from the source material, no matter what it is that you're doing. So like how you said, activism. Maybe Soul would call himself an activist. I don't know. I would have to ask him, but I do consult him on a lot of things too. And because of him, a lot of things, my eyes were open to actually noticing a lot of things that I kind of ignored before, man. And I'm very thankful to him for that.
Yeah. Let me just also hop in here and say quick shout out to Soul for just being there to talk to members of the crew and the community about this shit. From what I understand, yeah, he would most likely be describing himself as an activist. I think he's kind of the main activist in our community right now, as far as protecting this dance and its integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do want to have him on the channel at some point, but I'm trying to build up a little bit first. Because I'm also working with them as a sensitivity reader, so a lot of our conversations do unfortunately involve him doing a lot of emotional labor. Like, I'm paying him for that, but it's still basically him reading my shit and being like, all right, so here's where we need to fix some shit. Here's where you overstepped, stuff like that. So yeah, this shout out to Soul, shout out to all the GCOS actually. While we're at it, fucking love our crew.
Right.
Yeah. GCOS is dope. Okay, so actually, so I think this recording is about to run out, so let me stop this one. We got like 2 more questions, so I'm just going to start a new one and then we'll finish this out. All right, sweet,
let's do it.
Cool. Give me like 2 minutes. Hey, and we are back. Can you hear?
Yep, it looks like you're frozen though, or I see a photo.
Oh shit! Oh wait, hold up. There we go. I just forgot to press the start video button, but hey, I'm a professional.
Yes, you are.
Hey, cheers, bro.
Cheers. Let me hold on. Oh yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Let's redo it after you filled your drink. Cheers.
Boom. Cheers.
B-boy out here on the building. Baby GCOS over here.
That's right.
Hell yeah. Yo, so we only got a couple questions left, but so I'm going to start with one that's kind of thrown in the middle because it's something that we talked a bit about at the beginning. But I was listening to some of your music before listening to this, or before this interview. Fire, by the way, of course, as you know, fire. Training Day, really, I did not realize how much you snapped on that track. Wow. Training Day was fucking sick. But on one of your tracks, it was I think it was like number 8 or 9. But you mentioned depression a couple times. Mm-hmm. And so depression is something I also struggle with. Would you mind talking a little bit about how that is kind of informed or inspired your creative process?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it definitely has, man. I mean, like, depression, especially in the society that we are in nowadays, it's just it's a big aspect and a big hold on a lot of people's lives. It can come from many things. It can come from something you're going through. Depression can come from lack of sleep. You know what I mean? Depression can come from not feeding your body right or treating your body right. You know what I mean? And it could just be mental despair. It could be you just feeling lost based on the environment that you see around you, and it was just the biggest thing, man. And I was depressed when I left, and then I got to Taiwan, and I put myself in some situations that weren't the best, and it built on and added on to it. I had my moments when I cried or whatever, but then as I got to transition along my journey in life, man, As of currently, I feel happy every day. I do not feel depressed. And part of it was, I want to say three things. Number one was like, okay, well, you're depressed. You can use that as emotional content. And so I had to understand what that meant. You know what I mean? And some of my best songs, I wrote them when I was upset, like sad, when I was angry, or if I was happy. Maybe I was in love with a girl. I was able to pull that emotional content from the feeling that I was having, and it was stopping me from going dormant. It was stopping me from, you know, running away from my gift. And a lot of people, they struggle with that, man. Like they get depressed and they like, yeah, man, we were supposed to do this song. I'm sorry it took me 3 weeks. I'm sorry it took a month, but it was a lot going on in my life, and which is understandable, you know. But as an artist, to become your highest version, when you get in those moments and something is making you feel like that, you got to put it in that song. You know, if you got to do a dance show, you got to put it in that dance, man. And depression can break you or it can make you stronger. You know, it would be easy for me to say it's up to you to decide what happens, because sometimes it's not. You know what I mean? The biggest thing, which is number two, which got me out of my well, along the way of transitioning out of my depression, man, was changing my environment. You know, I grew up in survival mode. Some people can't turn it off. They just think everybody's out to get them. Everybody wants to kill them or rob them or have what they have. And changing my environment and getting to see how people live and are accustomed to each other in a place that we aren't born. You know what I mean? And it just changed my life. I could go outside and I could party till 5, 6 in the morning, and I could walk home and nobody's trying to rob me or beat me up. I could wear my jewelry to the club and nobody's trying to jack me for my jewelry. Nobody's trying to jump me. Police aren't out to get me. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so many different aspects that allowed me to see, okay, well, you're going to deal with some things in places that you go. And as long as you can take some time in your life to get away from those things that you're dealing with or that environment that you're in, it just makes the biggest difference, man. Waking up here and one day it's snowing, one day it's hot, one day it's raining. You remember Michigan weather.
Oh yeah, no, I know it I remember it very well.
Then waking up in a place where it's sunny every day. I can go to the beach every day. Maybe there's a typhoon every now and then, but then because of typhoon, I don't have to go to work. I'm already enjoying my life. And it just builds character. It builds a foundation of happiness. A lot of people don't have a foundation of happiness. A lot of people, they're not living their life, they're surviving. You know, and if you're always in survival mode, you're always trying to go tooth and nail to figure out what it takes for you to get past that situation, as opposed to just living your life and breezing through it or moving through it gracefully. You know, a person with a graceful step, man, is much better to look at than somebody with a stutter step, because a lot of times in survival mode, if you're in combat, etc., you're moving with that, what I call the stutter step, because you're always having second thoughts. Maybe something's coming here, something's coming there, but you can move gracefully and move past things just as well as you can move past things with a stutter step. And the third thing for me is knowing that you appreciate it. You know, I would go out in public overseas, and every day somebody would be like, wow, you're so handsome. You look amazing. You look really good. Girls, you're so cute. You're so beautiful. And like, I'm like, okay, you know, I wasn't used to that. People smiling at you, your neighbors saying, hey, how are you today? How's everything going? How's the weather? What are you doing today? Hey, let's go have a drink. You don't get any of those things in some places, man. And having that lack of interaction as a human being is what causes a lot of people to be depressed. Because we have a lot of people, the first thing they say is, oh, you're ugly. Oh, this is wrong with you. Oh, this and that, and that. You don't really have people to say, man, you're handsome. A lot of people need to hear that they're handsome or beautiful or that somebody loves them. And nobody understands the significance of that. Even for us, that depression comes from childhood in school. If you ain't wearing the coolest clothes, you get made fun of. If your parents ain't rich and you're not wearing Jordans or whatever, you get made fun of. If in the suburban school, if I don't have an Abercrombie and Fitch on, you know, like, oh, it's the poor kid wearing FUBU or whatever. And it's like, dude, like, when does it stop? Then you get older, you have police chastising you, you have people just messing with you, and they always ask, well, why are you in such a bad mood? Well, why should they be in a good one when they have all these people around them trying to dictate their life, tell them what they look like, tell them how they should feel? They don't give them that free reign of emotion, man. And you know, just having those things, man, those are very important. Having those things are the three things that help me with depression. And I've been back, and some bad things have happened, but I'm not falling apart. I'm not tipping the scales. You know what I mean? I'm not discombobulated. Everything is okay. I wake up, I'm smiling every day. I could have $1 in my account and be like, well, I'll have 100 more when I get paid. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of how I look at it now, because your positivity, you never know how it can help someone around you. But a lot of people here, they're not happy themselves and they're trying to help somebody else be happy. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? If I'm happy, I can teach you how to be happy too, you know? And yeah. I just feel that honestly, those are the most important aspects of depression. Recently, you heard, you know, Andy, that was with GCOS. You know, may he rest in peace, but he was dealing with that depression, and that depression got the best of him, and Andy's no longer with us. You know what I mean? And it can get the best of people, especially, like I said, some people are just born chemically imbalanced. It's in our food, it's in our air, it's in the environment, man. And you have to do so many things to protect yourself from it. But the best thing that you can do as a human being, if you're a woman or I don't know if you're a woman, you're a man, or how do they say non-binary? You're non-binary. There we go. Just know that you're beautiful or handsome, and that somebody appreciates you. You know, I would go overseas, and a lot of my friends, they were LGBT community. I would go watch the drag shows because they would support me in my rap show. So I go to their drag shows. I go to their whacking battles or whatever, and I would just be a part of it, man, because those were some of the coolest and nicest people I've known. And people would know how nice they are if they give them a chance to shine their light. Everybody has a light. Let them shine it, or they're going to be depressed. And if it's not a cold or a bullet, it could be depression that takes somebody up out of this world. You know, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, well, you said a lot that I would love to build on, but I mean, like, you know, for me personally, depression is kind of one of those things that's kind of always hanging out back there. You know, I'm trying to, you know, distract myself or do some other shit, but it's, you know, it's chilling, it's waiting for its opportunity. But you know, the main thing that I'm really thinking, like, taken away from this is the lack of like the way that masculinity plays into men expressing their emotions, especially when it comes to mental health shit. I mean, you mentioned Andy, rest in peace. I have another friend, I'm not going to mention them by name, someone else, a man with depression, took their own life in the past year. I've actually known 3 total people in the past year that took their own life. And yeah, it's some shit, man. But you know what I see a lot, and it's not like this is always the cause, but you know, men not being comfortable expressing that they need emotional support. Like I have a video on my channel where I talk about like why I left teaching, but I mean, the nutshell was like, I got to a point where it was so fucking bad that if I didn't have the support of people around me, of my wife, of my friends and coworkers, people who were like, yo, this dude needs some emotional support. Who gives a fuck that this is a man, and men aren't supposed to show emotions that aren't, anger and confusion. Those are the 2 we're allowed to show. But yeah, man, like, and just some really weird ass ways that masculinity worked into it, because like, you know, as a man, you are not supposed to cry. Like, no one is supposed to see you cry. That's just how society has fucking taught us. But the way that manifested is like there were some times where I was so fucked up after work, or so just had me really feeling depressed in some type of way. I wanted to have a moment alone. Like, I would get home, I had a moment alone. I'm like, okay, let's let out those tears you've been holding in. But because of the way masculinity had taught me to not let those out, like even in that moment where I told myself, oh, this is time for that release, I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even cry when I wanted to. So there's some really weird shit going on with masculinity and the way it makes a lot of dudes not comfortable talking about their mental health and like asking for help when they need it, because that shit's important. Yeah. Like it really is. It's a stigma that a lot of dudes need to get over. Obviously there's way more people to it than just people of our gender, but like speaking specifically to that issue, I think like, yeah, man, dudes need to become more emotionally intelligent and aware of what they're feeling and how to express it, and not let that shit become harmful, because it can become harmful. Like we've seen it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point too. Yeah, it is very good to be you have to be in touch with your emotions. You have to be emotionally inclined, because being in touch with your emotions is the best way to know yourself and to know when something's wrong with you. A lot of times, and even with women, we watch it, and a lot of times somebody just look like they're having a funky day, say, oh, well, what's wrong? And you know what women do? Women say, nothing's wrong. I'm fine. I'm all right. Nothing's wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know that something's bothering them, but the answer you constantly return back to is, oh, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. I'm fine. I'm fine. And you can't do that anymore. It's just at a point where that is just unhealthy for anybody. If something's wrong, maybe you can't tell everybody exactly what's wrong, but you could say, hey, well, financially, I'm having some difficulties, or et cetera, et cetera. I might be sick or something. Like you have to leave some type of subtle clues to let people know that something's wrong, so that people who are willing to help you can help you. They can be that shoulder for you to lean on, because everybody needs that. Everybody needs that. Even in Taiwan, like I said, there was times where I cried, man. And after all the crying and whatever, it got to a point, I want to say about 1.5 years into it, where everything was just fine. It was completely fine, and it had to do with different things for me, learning the culture, realizing that there may be time where I would want to go see my family, but they just ain't here. So I have to find somebody else, that I can be close to, because a phone call is dope, but I need a friend I can hug too. You know what I mean? And everybody needs somebody to hold them. If that wasn't the case, as little boys, why did mom hold us? Why did dad hold us? Because people were made to be held. We were made to be held.
Yeah, man. And then we were made to love, not hate. If we're going to use some general ass terms with it, I mean, that's just how I feel. It's a lot easier to hate, but that's ultimately not the direction we can be going in. So, yeah, man, thank you for weighing in on this. I know these are like personal topics, kind of both of us, but I just appreciate being able to have this kind of open discourse about it. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to that, man, I just hope it's something that I could give that could help somebody, man. It was so many things I used to be depressed about and angry, man. I had what we in our society call the angry black syndrome. And then they would always ask me, what are you so angry about? And I said, I don't know. But you know what I was angry about? I just wasn't happy. I didn't think that this world could be a good place until I went somewhere that was actually good. And I realized the world ain't bad. It's just where I'm at that's bad. I need to step away from that and go visit paradise. And then I can come back to this. But once paradise adjusts my mind properly to what it should be, I had to come back here, and I can't dictate every emotion or the way I operate exactly the same, but there are some things that I kept in play because I knew it would make people feel better upon my return, I guess I could say. Like the maybe one way I could convey the message one way in this place, but in another place, I can do it almost the same, but a little bit different. And that's where I'm at now. But people always look, man, you're always so happy. I said, well, what's there to be angry about? There's fools and fools. There's kings and there's court jesters. What is there to be mad about? There's always something to smile about.
Yeah, man. And it's interesting, just to kind of close this out before we move on to our last couple topics. Sometimes it is about feigning that positivity even when you're not feeling it. Because knowing that, like, if you let that voice, that part, this is just for me and the way my depression works, but like, if I let that voice that says, oh, well, you should just lay down, just give up on this shit. If I let that catch up, then it can take hold. But if I just kind of stay ahead and be relentlessly positive in the face of my depression doing all sorts of fucked up shit to me, be relentlessly positive as a way to fight back against that. Almost fighting back against my own brain. It's something that kind of works. I mean, this is part of what has led me to do all this writing and start on my channel, and all this is like feel, kind of like what you're talking about, feeling like this is the path to me being able to be happy, or at least as happy as I can be as a human being living the human condition, And, different situations, of course, very different cultural experiences and all that, but the same core of like just wanting to be happy and overcome the things that we need to just be fucking happy.
Yeah. See, like one thing of importance too, that a lot of people that maybe, when they see this, a lot of people probably haven't noticed right now, right? I have a drink in my hand. You have a drink in your hand, right? We're smiling right now. We're having a conversation. There's a lot of people who toss these back because they're not happy about something, Yeah. I've never, ever bought a drink and got drunk because I was sad.
Bro, same
if
here.
I go out and drink,
same here. No, the only times. Oh, sorry, but yeah, the only times I got drunk is when I'm like having a good ass time and having a really fun time, and I'm not paying attention. But yeah, no, if I'm depressed or just feeling shitty in some other way, even if depression ain't getting to me at that point, yeah, man, alcohol is not going to help. Alcohol is really not going to help that shit at all. And if I try to make it, usually I just forget about my drink. I just I just straight up forget about it. Which is,
and see, oh, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Oh, I was gonna say, so like, and then even with smoking, right? There's nothing wrong with smoking weed, but a lot of people try to smoke away their problems. It will not work because smoking is something that makes you cognitively active, like cognitively active. So if I'm happy and I start smoking, I'm just about to start thinking about a bunch of happy stuff. But if you're depressed, you're gonna smoke, man. How do I do this? How do I do that? People have got to stop thinking that you can drink and smoke your problems away. I think that people shouldn't drink and smoke until they can maintain their self-happiness in a sober state. When you can do that in a sober state, go ahead and have fun, because you're not going to kill yourself doing it. You're not going to smoke yourself retarded, and you're not going to drink yourself into a hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's good food for thought for people. Like I said, over there in Taiwan, weed is illegal. Ain't none of that. All people do is drink, and you can drink 24 hours a day. There's no cutoff time to where you can no longer buy alcohol. You can drink in public. I can walk down the street drinking with a beer in my hand. I can go grocery shopping with my beer and leave out with my beer. You know what I mean? You can go anywhere. And that taught me a lot. If I was angry and disgruntled, I would be drunk walking around in these public places acting like a fool. You know what I mean? And I learned how to get happy first drinking before I was angry doing it, and I watched someone who was very close to me, and I would see how she would drink when she was happy. It would be cool. Everything was fine. But when she would get in that mood, she'd get drunk and it'd be a bunch of cursing. And I'm just like, oh man, you know, it'll take you down the wrong rabbit hole. As far as smoking doesn't make people aggressive, but if you upset or you angry when you smoke, you just gonna ignore everything. You just tune the world out. You can't just tune everything out. It's still here. You might be high or whatever, but the world is still here. You can't tune it out. You got to be in tune with it. You know what I mean? So like, so like, hopefully that's something that's good food for thought for people. Like, you know, occasionally at moments in the past, if I've tried to, you know, have me some smoke, I can't do a full thing anymore. That's how much I don't need it. I'll probably puff that thing 3 times. All right, I'm still cool. I'm functioning. I'm a little hungry, but I'm about to go play it again.
Yeah, man. No, I feel you. It's one of those things that if I like, you know, I do enjoy smoking. It does help with my mental health and just shit like that. But you know, if I do it when I'm in a mood where it's going to send me into a spiral, then it sends me into a spiral. It's about just kind of like you're saying, knowing yourself, knowing what you're okay with in that moment, stuff like that. There's a lot more I kind of want to say on that, but you know, I got my channel. I can speak into a camera whenever the fuck. Let's get to these last couple questions. So, you know, so we've been talking a lot about some more heavy stuff, big picture stuff, ranging from race to mental health to, you know, cultures where we live, all this different stuff. But let's just move into some kind of final notes on some positive shit. What are some of your next steps for your rapping and for just your creative pursuits?
Oh man. One thing I'm working on right now is, as of recently, I want to say about a year, it's been about a year that I've been making not only just rap music or whatever, but I'll speak on the producer side first. But I've been making jingles, you know, intros for people's podcasts or shows, or maybe they have.
I might need you to get you to do some shit for my YouTube channel.
I'd love to, man. I'd love to.
Hey, we'll talk about this after the meeting. I actually have a specific thing. I need you to ghostwrite a verse. We're going to get to that. But here okay. Let's hear more about what you've been up to.
Okay. And so
sorry.
Definitely. No, definitely. And on the producer side, that's pretty much what I've been up to, is just exploring different genres and seeing what I'm capable of making. And I was quite surprised to see that I've made some of the things that I have. And I'm like, wow, come a long way. As far as the rapping, I actually been getting more in tune with my singing side. And I didn't think I could do it, and I have, man. And there's women like, oh, I love this song, I love that song. I'm like, wow. I had a buddy who always told me to do that, and I wouldn't listen to him. And he was a singer, I was a rapper. He was like, let's make a song where he raps and I sing. Maybe at that time, no, I just wasn't in tune with the music enough vocally to like understand how to put that together. Now I have. I'm looking to do features with a few of my favorite artists that I've grown to like over the years. And I'm looking forward for that. That's going to cost a pretty penny, but it's going to make me a pretty penny. So you get out what you put in. So that's going to be a thing, man. And as far as dancing, man, just continuing what I'm doing, working on my mobility, flexibility, getting back into breaking. I've lost some things that I've gotten back already. I've been more in tune with popping. Like I said, I've been popping for about a year, a little over a year, man. And when I was popping, every competition that I entered, man, I made it to semifinals or the finals or whatever. And now it's time to, take a dub home. So that's what this year is looking like. We're bringing a trophy home.
Hell yeah. Breaking, get it.
Oh my God. It's going to be a little bit more of rehabilitating my breaking style, man. But because of the popping, I yet again view breaking differently, man. And there's things that I'm going to, transitions and go downs and etc. There's things that I'm going to continue to view differently, man, and just see how I can continue to, elevate my craft. And just for hip hop as a whole, man, I'm still happy to be a part of it. I'm glad that I'm doing it, man, and I'm surprised that I made it as far as I have, man. I've had people say some very kind things to me. Somebody told me, that I'm one of their favorite dancers to come out of Michigan.
Hey, that's what's up.
I was surprised to hear that, man. That made my day, and it just showed me how hard the training with Hitmaster paid off, man. I met a lot of dancers that taught me things about house and etc., man, when I was overseas. One of them was one of my favorite dancers. His name was Sonny. Sonny passed away last year, so may he rest in peace. But Sonny was a very wonderful guy, man, and me and Hitmaster just enjoyed his vibes. And we would go to the clubs out there, man, and the clubs in Taiwan, when it comes to hip hop, man, it's still like breaking back in the 80s or the 90s, I would do the competitions out there, man, and it was good for me because I would do the competitions. I go to a club and they say, "Hey, man, you're that black guy that did such and such. I want to battle you." And then in the middle of the club, while I'm drinking, hanging with some girl or some friends, a cipher circle just breaks out, and I'm battling 3-4 dudes, man.
Yeah,
and it was
just sounds sick. I want to do that. I want to have some spontaneous ass battles in the club against 4 motherfuckers at once. That sounds sick. I want to do that.
Oh man, it was like, and that and that's why I look at it, and we'll continue to look at things the way I do, because the thing about Asia is, yeah, it's not us, but it's like if we made it past the old school era and then packaged it into a box and threw it somewhere else, and they just forever maintaining that box. If you go to Asia anywhere, it's like that. I was like,
that is interesting. That is really
baggy clothes, the 90s fits, the Kango caps, the berets, man. Like, I was like, wow, and the last thing is, again, just continuing to meet OGs, gaining knowledge, because it starts in here and then you transition it out here. One of my greatest buddies, man, I still talk to him. And there's I'll send you the snippet of it, their documentary. It was called the Wrecking Shop documentary. And these were famous dancers from New York, man. And they all ended up dancing for Mariah Carey. One of them is my buddy Rubber Band. There was a guy named Khalif. And oh man, I can't remember. And there's a few other guys. But Rubber Band was in Japan. They had brought him over to Taiwan. I got to hang out with Rubber Band. Me, him, and Fish hung out for about a week, man, and going clubbing, man. And you know what I mean? And that's why hopefully maybe, it could be a little more safe, or we could find somewhere where people can dance a little bit more. But that's the only aspect that a lot of these dancers are over here missing. You need that club aspect because it just teaches you how to be spontaneous. Maybe you're there and you like a girl. Maybe that you're there, you want to impress these dudes. Maybe you're there and somebody who's talking junk about you is there and you want to make this guy eat them words. Like, that was a whole aspect of clubbing. But it's like, oh, I know I can't do everything I did because maybe I had 6 or 7 drinks, but I'm about to shut it down. That's where my mind is at for 2021, heading into 2022. And like, I can't wait to reunite with you. I can't wait to reunite with some of the other members of the crew, man. And, just from going over there and Preach going where he went, Kamari going where she went, Tony going where he went, that made, things like that. Whether we won or not, we paved the way for GCOS to be an international crew. This is an international thing, so now with everything that we do, we don't have to think local anymore. We think international. We can make one dope jam in Russia or something like that. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say something, but we can make one dope jam in Russia or the Ukraine or something, man, and that'd be better than us all going to freestyle session or etc. Because when me and Soul was the first person I met back up with at Battle ISM in Taiwan, and we hung out, man, and we had a real good time. And I was watching them tear dudes up. Mr. Wiggles was there.
Bro,
man,
Soul is scary on the floor, bro. There is a reason that in my book he is the main villain instead of like because you know all the crew is like represented in some way, and Soul, I'm like, nah, he's too dope. Can't be a good guy. He's got to be a villain. Fuck that.
Ain't even a b-boy. He beat me in the Top Rock battle. I never forget that. I owe him one for that.
I'm not surprised. He could beat me in a Top Rock battle most likely. I'd give him a run for his money, but like it's just kind of how these things go. Someone on that level.
I'm speaking this into the future. So if you're watching this, we rematching. Buddy. But hey,
while we're at it, Soul, I'll battle you. I don't think I battled you before. I'm gonna get smoked, but let's do this shit. Fuck that. Let's do this
shit. He's a fun guy, man. He's very fun on the dance floor. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much where my mind is at and how I view things right now, and just seeing things the way that they are, man. It's made me happy. The last thing I'll share is just going to the Philippines, man, being with my brother Crazy Beans. He lost his mother and his father, man, within a very short period between each other. So may they, rest in peace. I'm proud of Beans because Beans is still consistently dancing and teaching, and he's out there with his wife Lemma. Beans respects the Black culture, man, and he's just a very lovable guy all around. But he taught me, don't be so boastful, but be happy to battle, because then when you want to boast, do it right there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Do it right there.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, there's something really interesting with battling within our culture, within our community, kind of this idea that no one's above the call out battle. Anyone, if you get called out, you battle. That's how this shit goes. So yeah, with that in mind, our final question for the night, Q. What advice would you give anyone else who's thinking of starting rapping, or maybe they started it recently, someone who's starting on this journey soon? What would you tell them?
Don't stop. If you feel like you can create something out of this, because again, I would differentiate between emceeing and rapping. You don't have to be an MC anymore. You can be a rapper, you know what I mean? And all it takes to be a rapper is being able to harmonize, come up with something catchy, something cool, But if you want to be an MC, then you got to put a lot of time into it. You got to put a lot of effort into it. You may not shine at all the opportunities that a rapper would get versus an MC, and the best way I could say that is MC is J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Royce, Black Thought, and then your rappers, you got like Future and Migos. And don't get me wrong, I love them dudes. Like I love Future, Migos. I was just so anti modern music before I left, and then just street performing and seeing how people react to old school and how some people react to new school, depending on where you're going. It just kind of changed It changed my perspective as a whole. There we go. Changed my perspective as a whole. And I just kind of view it differently. You have to, if it's something that you want to get into, you have to decide how commercial you want to be, because you could be an MC and be commercial, but you have to decide how commercial you want to be, how much work you're willing to put in, and what version of it makes you happy. You might be an MC, but they're telling you to make this commercial stuff, which is the rap side, and it doesn't make you happy. If it don't make you happy, don't do it. You know what I mean? Unless you're willing to look at it as a job. For me, I no longer look at rapping and music as a 9 to 5. I look at it as a contracting gig. But then you have your MCs like Eminem. He literally raps from 9 to 5 and takes a lunch break at 12 o'clock, comes back at 1 and works up until 5. You know what I mean? Like, you have to understand how you view it. if you think you can do it, if you get a few positive comments, do it. You know what I mean? Don't give up. The main thing is just longevity. You know, it took a rapper like Royce maybe 20 years of rapping, and then Royce made $1 million. Before that, it was a little money here, a little money there. You know what I mean? And it depends on what you want from it. But if to get what you want from it, you have to persevere. You cannot just stop. And sometimes those moments will come where you want to stop. And then when that happens, something good always happens. Everybody, my second advice is everybody's not meant to be a producer. Some people just need to buy beats, you know, but there's a lot of people who can rap and produce. Great. You know what I mean? But everybody's not meant to do it. And my last piece of advice is everybody's also not meant to engineer. Some people are good at all three, and some people just need to focus on doing their rapping or MCing. You know what I mean? Stay in your lane, and that's the quickest way to make it to where you're trying to go and to make some money from what you're trying to do. Know what you're trying to, you know what I'm saying? Know what you're trying to use it for. And in order to recognize that, you need to know where you need to stay in your lane and where you don't. And if you believe that you can do it, prove people wrong. But if it doesn't get good, let it go and just focus on the aspect that you're good at, which is the rapping. You can go pay somebody for music. You can go pay somebody to get in the studio, you know, and be happy about what you're doing. When you get in those moments of depression, don't stop writing and take a break. Take that energy that you're feeling and you put that shit into a song. I think that's the first swear word I've said today. You put that shit into a song, whether it's a sad one, a good one, whatever. You put it into a song and you listen to it, and it's going to make you feel better, and you're going to get back on your craft. Do not fall off. It takes one moment for you to fall off, for you to not be right for the time, and the time to be right for you, or for you to be right for the time, but the time is no longer right for you. You have to be there, because it's like two gyrating cogs, and then every once in a while something happens to where one stops, and then it goes, and then one stops, and then you meet up, and that's when you right for the time, and the time is right for you. Don't miss it. Don't miss it, because then you spend your whole life trying to play catch up, and you might miss it this time, and then it might not come back around for about 10 years later. You know what I mean? So just consistency, perseverance. Know what you should and should not do. Experiment, learn, and the last biggest thing I can say is fail. Before I could sell beats, they're like, yeah, I got beats and I sell beats. Nobody liked them, and I was failing. And like Will Smith said, you fail until you win. When you exercise, you work the muscles out, and then they fail, but you're stronger. When you stretch, and then you fail. You can't go farther, but then the next day you can. You know what I mean? So keep failing until you win, and just persevere. And those are my biggest words of advice for people.
Hey, snap that up. Y'all out there on YouTube, listen to what the man is saying. It's true. I'm trying to apply myself. It's tough. But I know it's tough. I mean, I'm kind of on the same grind with writing right now. Like, I'm at that persevere point where, like, I got to remind myself, I'm just doing this because I got to do it, you know, because this is me. Yeah. This is what I do. But yo, Q, thank you so fucking much for coming on. I'm swearing too much. It's because I used to teach and I had to watch my language all the time. Now I have a YouTube channel. I can say whatever the fuck I want. I might have to worry about getting demonetized, but not yet. My channel's too small for that. But yeah, man, this has been really awesome. I appreciate you coming on. We're going to chat for a little bit, but for the people watching, thank you for stopping by. Q, any last words to the people?
I appreciate everybody for viewing this. I hope these words can shed some enlightenment on people's lives or goals or whatever you're trying to do. And the key to self-happiness is realizing that the place that you live in the world is not the only place that there is. Go travel. That's what I want to say. Travel. When this COVID stuff is over and everything, travel. Hop on a plane, hop on a boat. Just go somewhere and learn about it. Enjoy it. And it'll change your perspective on life.
Hell yeah. Well, yo, what a great quote to end on. What a great sentiment to end on. We're going to keep talking a little bit, but for the people listening, thank you for stopping by. Q, I love you, bro. Thank you for being part of this. And we are going to keep talking. All right. Peace, y'all.
This pandemic got the people moving. This pandemic open eyes, others walking to their execution. Like John Connor with the people movement. Every day I'm in a booth writing rhymes and releasing music. I'm the sickest young and never done it, but now it's too late to apologize. Feeling like the one republic. It's one man, one God. Your honor sitting on the stand to judge a man, and only God could judge him. It's quarantine, man, stop the fronting. Your routine to hit the weed, man, spending your McDonald's money. Ain't got no money, but you gotta love it. Never paying any bills, always gloating when you got the bubbly. Can you say that I was never different? I drove my car to Canada, I took a plane and I left out the country. I've been gone for 3 years, I got no kids. Out in Taiwan every day, I'm eating blowfish. Had to choose between hoes or getting more bread. Had bitches in my bedroom, naked, rocking pro kids. If I commerce every day, I use a moped. Always looking cold, riding smooth, I'm a snow sled. A black god, never bound down to no man. Speaking Chinese, pulling women to my slow jams. I missed a part up in this program. One day my sister left and never came back, I'm all alone, man. I cop Jews and rock ice. I made a wish to shooting stars so I could become a snowman. You speaking wise like you an old man. I know you always up to something, neck itching like a cokehead. I come home and I leave food out for the dough man, while other niggas plot to set you up, thought it was your man's. Don't exercise, you got a body like a coke can. I'm leaving Taiwan to get my knowledge from my old man.